3 or 4. We're in a timeless vortex of just truth and learning now. So I really appreciate you coming. It's an honour for me really to introduce the next speaker. I'd class him as a friend, and we've spent a lot of time together over the last few weeks. As I said, it bears repeating. Several months ago we had Skype chats, and then 3 or 4 weeks ago you got on a plane and Santos left his family and the dog and came to England and Italy, and he's been to Hull and oh yeah, that wasn't listed like that from any reason. It was just a rational sort of working down, but as I said, he's toured all over the country. He's been on trains and on people's settees, and as I said, I'm honoured he's put so much trust and faith in us, and as I said, obliged us with 4 weeks out of his life really. And yes, he's wasting away, and yes, our food isn't brilliant, and yes, we've probably kept him up too late, and the last 2 nights he's probably going, they said luxury camping, and you still have to walk to the toilets. But as I said, I'm honoured. I'm not even going to introduce the subject. Santos Bonacci is astrotheology, and the syncretism is really a new way of addressing all our thought processes, and it follows on from the meme of yesterday with John Boyd and Schauberger, and through what Dave was on about this morning, and even Gary Bilcliffe and onwards, that know thyself, and we help to change the world. Be the change you want to see, and all that sort of stuff starts with knowing who you are. So I'm going to introduce him. It's going to be a long session, so grab your pens and relax back into the seats. This is Santos Bonacci.
Thank you. Lovely. I see some old faces, people that have been to some of the other presentations, and new faces, and here we are at Stonehenge. So, well, nice. It's beautiful. I'm very lucky. I had a tour of the stones with Maria Wheatley and Busty Taylor, and they took me around. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. It was beautiful. Of course, Maria is now doing a little tour while I'm speaking, right? And so that was a privilege and an honour. I'm going to have a little bit of a chat about that. I want to spend 20 minutes talking about the tour thus far and the 8 presentations which I've already done. And today you're going to get a special presentation based on the sun. Special in that it hasn't been presented before. So I'm trying to keep the presentations fresh. Thus far there has been no repeats, and I have a few more presentations to do as yet. For instance, I'll be doing a special sovereignty / self-determination presentation when I get to Northern Ireland in early September. But today's subject is the sun. So after 20 or 30 minutes of talking about the tour thus far, we're going to put the sun into perspective. And we're going to see what everyone and anyone has ever said about the sun. And so this beautiful shining orb of light that gives us vitality is going to be put into perspective. So the tour thus far. First talk I gave was at St. Anne's, and there I presented the science behind the science. So we talked a little bit about light, because that's all there is to talk about after all. It's all light. So we spoke about that, and we spoke about the magnetic light, the causal magnetic light, and differentiated it from the electrical light of effects, duality, positive and negative. And that was a presentation in which I featured a bit of the documentary Primifields by David Lapointe. And I think he did a really good job of explaining from a reverse engineering perspective, really, how the universe pretty much, how it works. And from the laboratory point of view, so using what Walter Russell would call sense thinking. He's done a pretty good job, and I highlighted some of that documentary, recommend to watch it. And we spoke a lot about Russellian science as well. And that was one presentation. Then we came to, I need some light here, Birmingham, and the first presentation there was the Nursery Rhymes. So that should be up on YouTube soon. One has already been put up by our brother here. Sorry. Torbs.
Yeah.
Torbs. Thanks, Torbs. Last night, Torbs put up the Glastonbury Zodiac, which was the 8th and the last one I did only a couple of days ago. So it's very quick. So this one should be up soon too, okay? So look for the Stonehenge one. The Glastonbury one is up if you want to have a look at that. And that was quite interesting because I will speak about that in a minute, and how a couple of the gentlemen, i.e. John Wadsworth, anyway, I'll get that right in a minute, and David, who wrote this book, were in the audience, and I'll have a chat about that in a minute. It's beautiful. But you'll see it already on YouTube. So, Birmingham, Nursery Rhymes. And we showed how the nursery rhymes are all based on alchemy, Kabbalah, mysticism, etc., etc. The science of light, syncretism. And those beautiful little rhymes that we repeat and we wonder, who would have concocted such beautiful wisdom? When were they conceived? And we get lost in the mists of time if we go back far enough. And the answers to these questions are not satisfactory unless we understand that once upon a time everything was syncretic and unified in knowing, not divided in thinking. And so nursery rhymes, amongst all the other types of songwriting, i.e. gospels, tragedies, comedies, operas, whatever you may call them, they all originate with the science of light. And the orbs that follow the ecliptic. The ecliptic is the path, the brazen serpent of Moses in the wilderness. The wilderness is the zodiac. The circuit of Galilee that Jesus walks on, Galilee, is the circuit of the zodiac. Strong's Concordance tells you that. And so it's the nursery rhymes are on that ecliptic because it's all the science of light. And this is the theme of the tour, actually. Syncretism, the science of light. So then we went to Bristol. Beautiful. Gorgeous place. Loved it. Bristol, and there we spoke about the ascension and the raising of the chrism. I have already presented this information in YouTube presentations called Secret of Secrets, The Elixir of Life Within, and Your Body is the Holy Land. So I won't elaborate too much on that because I want to get to the subject at hand. That will be available. So how to ascend. The ascension is within. One is a Jew within, not without. The Christ is within, Colossians 1:26. It's the chrism. In the Greek script system, Christos is the oil which is secreted from the claustrum. And that's the oil that descends and then ascends, and then we have illumination. Because, of course, when the prodigal son returns, when Ulysses returns to Penelope, is reinstated in his kingdom, and that oil, once it returns to the third ventricle, the third heaven, it increases its vibration 1,000-fold, because the Sahasrara chakra is 1,000 petaled lotus. and all the dormant brain cells are reactivated. And this is the process of ascension. It is within, and we discussed this, and that will be up soon, hopefully. Following that, Manchester, the Philosopher's Stone. And we spoke about the alchemical story along the Ecliptic. When one commences in Capricorn, the cardinal earth sign, ruled by Saturn and lead, one starts on a journey, starting at the bottom, earth, cardinal earth, lead, and by the time one goes around through the elements, in order, the 12 elements, the 4 elements in there, 3 cardinal nodes. So cardinal, fixed, mutable, cardinal, fixed, mutable. You come to the 11th sign, Leo, which is the gold. And then that's the fixed fire. The last and the 12th sign is Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter, Saint Peter, the pearly gates, from which we ascend through the Tropic of Cancer, which is known as the Gateway of the Gods. And that's the Philosopher's Stone. And that's explained from the Manchester Syncretism of Light presentation. Then we went to Leicester and we did the Holy Days. And what we did was we simply followed the ecliptic. So there you have the Earth, the equator, the Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, and of course the ecliptic. And so what we did was we commenced where right ascension of meridian begins in astronomy. Where the Ram, Aries, begins in astrology. Where Abram begins in astrophy or theology. Where Cerebrum, which I have shown in my many presentations, Ceres is Isis, or Sarah. Brum is Abram. Cerebrum, Aries, ruled by Aries. Taurus is the cerebellum. Cerebrum is Sarah Abram. So you see, you have astronomy, theology, biochemistry, because this is the Ceres, this is the wax that we spoke about before, the oil which comes from the place of cereals. And this is, of course, March, April. And so we begin here our journey. As I said before, with the Philosopher's Stone in Manchester, we began in Capricorn. It's the sheep and the goats. The goat rules the solstice, the solstitial axis. The sheep, the ram, rules what is known to be the ecclesiastical, spiritual axis. Fire and air. Libra is air. The intellectual nature, the spiritual nature. Fire is mystic. This is the masculine, equinoctial, spiritual plane of the cross, the Holy Cross. And this is the feminine, Capricorn, Cancer, water, earth, emotions, sensual, or body. And this is the kingly axis. Ptolemy, 2nd century astrologer, said this is noted for ecclesiastical. For. Is that me? I think so. known for as the kingly axis, you see. So we begin our journey here or here. The four Gospels, out of the four Gospels in the Bible, 2 Gospels begin here with a baby Jesus, 25th of December in Capricorn. And Mark is March, or ran backwards, Mars, the ruler of Aries. Mark and John begin with the Lamb of God that takes away the sin of the world. Fully grown Jesus, no nativity scenes. So this is the science of gospel writing. What's the gospel? I think I have to turn around for a better sound. There's too much frequency feedback there. What's the gospel? Well, a gospel is a... two L's? No, one. Is a goat spell. So it comes from the word tragodi. Tragodia in Greek. Tragos is the goat. And udi is ode to the goat. Which goat? Capricorn. And so we get the word tragedy. The Renaissance Italians would have called it opera. Is that hard to see, is it?
That is better.
Yeah, you'll have to put it out more, I think, for better. Yeah. And so, Dante called it a comedy. But the tragosudio, the goat spell, gospel, is the science of talking about light along the ecliptic. And so when you have this wave, and Walter Russell said the secret of creation is in the wave, he was referring to this wave of the positive and the negative, the vibration, the electrical light of illusion of the universe, which is the effect, and the cause is the magnetism, the Mother Mary, pure. She's a virgin because it's pure white light. It's not red and blue, which is how Walter Russell explains this, and many other scientists. It's in theology and alchemy. Red is fire, blue is water. Red is masculine, positive. Blue is feminine, negative. Mary, maritime, water. Fire, Jesus, electric. Emmanuel, electricity. And so there's the two lights, you see. There's always the two gods, the prime creator and then Jehovah or Shiva or Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. Creator, operator, destroyer. Cardinal, fixed, mutable in astrology. And so when you see that wave and you start here at Aries, you can start at Capricorn, but I've chosen to start that particular presentation of the holy days in Aries. Your eyes shall be opened, and you will see that all theologies are based on this. Most of the memorative things that have ever occurred in the Bible have occurred in this sign, the sign of Nisan, Aries. Abraham sacrificed the ram in the thicket. Noah's Ark lands on Mount Ararat on Nisan 17. Jesus Christ resurrects and ascends on Nisan 17. Esther frees the Jews on Nisan 17. Jericho falls at the hand of Joshua, Nisan 17. The Jews eat the first fruits, of course the blossom of Aries, for the first time on Nisan 17. They descend down into Egypt for the 430 years of enslavement on Nisan 17. Moses parts the Red Sea and they walk through the Red Sea on Nisan 17.
All there. Easter happens there. In astrology, that's the exaltation of the sun. I wonder why that would be. Would that have anything to do with the nights are longer here and the days are shorter? And then the moment the sun splits the middle on the 21st of March every year, then the days are longer and the nights are shorter, so therefore the sun exalts. And it's interesting that the sun is Horus, and opposite that sign in Libra is Saturn, Set, where sun sets every day. Sun rises here, sun sets over here. And Set is the exalter of the sign of Libra. That's astrology. And so when you merge and cross the disciplines with syncretism, you begin to understand what's really going on. Here is theology, here is astrology, here is astrotheology, nursery rhymes, alchemy, biochemistry, astronomy. And that's how Holy Scriptures are made. That's how Gospels are written. And anyway, I'm spending a lot of time on this. I didn't really want to talk about the Manchester one so much, but this was precious for me, this particular one, because it opens your eyes. You begin to see then what Pentecost means over here, mid-May. You begin to see why the sun is transformed on the 6th of August every year. Of course, Jesus is transfigured on the mountain in the middle of Leo in summer where it's hot and the sun is transfigured. You come to here and the Jews celebrate Judgment Day over here. You understand why on the equinox. Here is the harvest moon, here is the hunting moon. You begin to see why, because you hunt in the winter, you harvest in Virgo. Then, of course, as you can, here is Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, Rosh meaning the start, the head. And of course, this is the head, the start of the Jewish secular year. Here is the start of the Jewish sacred year, Nisan, Tishri. Aries, Libra, the spiritual axis. Of course, there's going to be tons and tons of religious festivities from all around the world in those beautiful signs. And of course, Capricorn. And many over here too. Many of which have to do with the crossing of the Milky Way galaxy in Cancer. For instance, the Japanese on the 7th of July every year celebrate Tanabata, when the Milky Way at 12 o'clock is directly overhead, and Orihime and Hikoboshi, Vega and Altair, the two lovers, 5th brightest star and the 12th brightest star, and the Milky Way separates them. And then only on one day is that alignment. You see, so these 4 cardinal signs are filled with festivities. And you'll see about at least 70 or 80% of the religious festivities are along those, or the fixed, or the cross-quarter days. May Day, Loaf Mass Day, Halloween's, Groundhog's Day. And this is the 8-spoke wheel. And these are the portals of the sun. It is known that when the sun goes through these 8 points, these nodes, this will be like the north node of the moon, and this will be like the south node, where judgment happens. And these are nodal points, and so and they're portals. And it is known that on the 2 days of equilibrium, these are called candlesticks in theology. And these are the pillars of Hercules. Longest day, shortest day, equal days. And all science is based on this. Okay, I'll proceed. Whoops. Let me proceed with... Then we did gospel writing in Birmingham. There were a few from there. Were you there? No. Okay, I saw a few faces today from there. Anyway, we did gospel writing based on this science and merging and syncretising all of the sciences that are hidden in our gospels. So that was good. By the end of the day, that was a workshop, and by the end of the day, everyone went home with the ingredients for the best songwriting that you could possibly conceive. Yeah, because everything starts in Aries, in cardinal fire, tetragrammaton, tetrahedron.
always there has been that association. The tetragrammaton is the tetrahedron, the fire, the creator. Everything is caused through fire. Everything is generated through fire. The other signs destroy the work of fire. That's the earth. So earth is stabilizing. Fire is generative. Earth is stabilizing. Air is corruptive. And water is destructive. So therefore, this is why the tetrahedron, everything begins at that causal point here. And this is the start of the year, this is the start of the day. 6 a.m, March the 21st. And the body is in here, the human body. I won't go into that today, but the head is here. The cerebrum is the land flowing with milk and honey, because in Aries is the pineal gland and the pituitary gland. The pineal gland secretes the honey, the pituitary gland, Mary, the wife of Joseph, the pineal gland, secretes the milk. And this is the land, this is heaven. Heaven is head. Heave up. Heel is hell. Head is heaven. So when we ascend the oil, we go to heaven. The essential is within. There's no guru without that's going to do it for you. And there's no vicarious salvation that will ever occur to do it for you. It's your work. You are the Jesus that needs to be restored to former glory of unconditioned consciousness. And so here also, everything is here at the head when it comes to do with theology. Right in those signs there. Taurus and Aries. And so then we came to Glastonbury and we did the zodiac. That's up. I won't speak about that anymore because that's up. And here we are, and the subject is the sun. Before I proceed to that, I wanted to talk about this particular book, Avebury, which was given to me yesterday by Maria Wheatley and Busty Taylor. Avebury, Sun, Moon and Earth. And I wanted to just talk a little bit about the tour that I was given, just to share some gems with you. And another tour I had to York. There's more too, but I think I'll keep it simple. Let's start with this one. I've got so much to share. And everything's sort of contributing to what I've uncovered and what I'm doing. So I want to share a bit of that. First we went to Stonehenge. That was beautiful. And Maria shared so much wisdom, along with Busty, of course, about the stones and how there are myths that these stones move and are alive. And you can see it. You can feel it. So, and Maria was saying how sad it is that people can't be there with those stones responsibly. They would be responsible, of course, if we allow people to be themselves and live in honour, and be close to those stones and get some real spiritual enlightenment from them. Some of those are of sarsen. Is that right? Is that how you call it? Yeah. The hardest, it's second to diamond in hardness, some of those stones. Anyway, that was beautiful. Then we went to Avebury and had a tour there, and the insight of the wisdom that they shared with me was incredible. One in particular, at one point, was when you sit in the Devil's Chair, one of those stones there, what you're supposed to be seeing is the sun setting at midwinter, at the solstice, or at solstice day rather. But they've extended the hill and they've blocked the view of that beautiful sight, and you can see the other solstice from that chair, and that's why the chair is facing there. And that's something I wouldn't have picked up if I had just been walking past and saying, these stones are so nice. So, they've obviously got that knowledge in here. Then we went to West Kennet Longbarrow, and we did some drum work with
Nick? No. He came along. Anyway, my apologies, I forget his name, but we did some drum work in those chambers. There's 5 chambers there. Anyone been there? Yeah. It was very interesting. Wonderful experience. What else did we do? We went to Salisbury and I saw the Magna Carta. And where King John signed the Magna Carta, saw the Magna Carta. And my, isn't the Salisbury Cathedral a marvel? I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared for the beauty of that cathedral. My best friend in Australia, a great friend of mine in Australia, Gary Tapper, his family comes from Salisbury, and he's always spoken about how beautiful it is. Of course, I've seen pictures of it, but it's breathtaking. And it's also, the spire is actually leaning, and they've restored it with flying buttresses and everything. And when you go inside, you can actually see the granite pillars bending, and they're inclined a couple of degrees. It's very scary, but they've restored it. These cathedrals were monuments, orchestrations in architecture and masonry of just megalithic proportions. Men and women devoted themselves to making light the subject of their adoration through temples, gospels, song. Any love song is a song about light. Love is light. Sound is light. We are light. And it's a beautiful dance of light that we are experiencing. And here we are at Stonehenge. This is definitely one of the most astounding monuments to light. And Maria explained to me in her graph about the 7 rings, or the 7 heavens from Saturn to the moon, and the 7 chakras, etc. She explained that this monument represents Saturn. And immediately I looked at Stonehenge and I said, how many stones go around the ring? And she said 30. That's the number of Saturn. And of course she placed in her graph, so Silbury Hill is Earth, and then we have, I wish I had brought that along actually, I would love to, I didn't expect to be explaining this, but so we've got Silbury Hill is Earth, and then Stonehenge with its 30 perimeter stones is Saturn. And then in the middle here is Marden. Don means hill of Mars. Jupiter's ring is, it's all measured to sort of the proportions, proper proportions, and these monuments are actually showing the solar system here in the Avebury area. So I'll get back to that. Perhaps tomorrow I'll remember. I'll bring the graph with me. Just before I proceed, also the Glastonbury Grail by the Naughty Gnome. David is his name, and he presented me this book too. And interesting that when I presented the Glastonbury Zodiac, you'll see it on the presentation that both John Wadsworth, I hope I haven't got that wrong, my apologies if I have, and David both, I asked them to come to the front and spoke a little bit about their products. So that was real synchronous, and yeah, that's the kind of universe we live in. Because as consciousness grows, we are aware of more. That's what consciousness is, knowing. Ignorance is the opposite. And so these are the beautiful things that are happening. I find them beautiful. I find them just absolutely wonderful. To have, John was shocked. He actually put his hand up to correct something that I was saying in the presentation. He said, well, I actually wrote the article that you're reading from. It's because I sourced it from the internet. There's 3 beautiful articles about Aries, Taurus and Pisces
and how you find all these things in the Glastonbury Zodiac. For instance, Clark Shoes, biggest manufacturer of shoes, in the Pisces side of High Street, and then over the road you've got all the wool shops in the Aries. And that's just a snippet of the things that we spoke about. Yeah. And he was there, and he was slightly embarrassed, and so was I. But this is the sort of stuff that's happening, you know. Anyway, I just want to add a little bit about York. Scott, are you here, Scott? Yeah, there he is. Yeah, Scott and Kirsty. Well, Scott took me to York, and wow, what we learned there. I went to the York Minster, the largest in north of the Alps. And, of course, Salisbury, which I saw 2 days ago, is the largest spire in England. And what a wealth of information Scott had to share, and I'm glad. And that was another synchronous thing, and I just see it as written in the script anyway. I'm just following along. I could spend hours and tell you some of the most amazing things that have happened since I landed at Rome on the 20th of July. It's been an amazing tour. And but this is some of the things that I learned. I always knew that York was interesting because you get New York, Masters of the Stock Exchange, from York, in Yorkshire, and you get the York Rite. And this is the big one, along with the Scottish Rite. And I learned this from Leo Zagami, who is a relative of Queen Elizabeth. And he's speaking out about the Masonic world and Zionism and the banks and the Vatican and all of these corrupt entities. And he's speaking out. And he's a Beauce Lion. Have I said that wrong? Queen Elizabeth is a Beauce Lion. We know that, don't we? Beauce.
More like Bose.
Bose. I thought I said it wrong. Thank you. Bose Lion? Lion. Excuse me. Okay, so, and he's a relative, you see, he's bloodline, and he's speaking out. And you might want to see that interview of Leo Zagami, because he exposes how powerful York really is. And when you go outside the Minster and you see the statue of Constantine, and he's sitting on his couch, on his divan like this, you know, with such an arrogant... the plaque there at the bottom says, Constantine enthroned himself as Emperor of Rome in York, and then moved on down to Rome and initiated the corporate Ponzi scheme of the donation of Constantine and Peter's Pence and the corporation of the Vatican, or the Catholic Church, and taxes and in the name of Jesus Christ. So the arrogance, you know. And you see, down the road from York Minster is the church where George Bush's Plantagenet relatives are buried in. And so this is a powerful lay that these churches are built on, you see, and the York Minster has the head of this family. It's just telling you that the family still rules the show. They're still in possession from those times. And Constantine, of course, was, some sort of a character. And of course you have Helen there, St. Helens Square in York, in the town. And it's interesting how you have a lot of associations. Scott pointed out that York backwards is Croy, or Troy. And of course you had the two, you had the Brigantes and you had the Parisis. Paris. You've got St. Helens Square, you've got Constantine, who is just another replica of the conquering, who was it, Achilles, I guess, or whoever. It's always the same one archetype, one hero. But you see this, you see, and Scott, you could probably add a few more of the analogies that you spoke about there. What else? I mean, it's all the same thing. The heart. There's the heart in the middle of the two rivers, the Foss and the Ouse. Yeah, Foss is light, Ouse is gold, light and gold, and they meet in the heart, and there's the Minster in there. It's the shape of a heart.
And so the York Rite is here. This is a powerful, powerful centre. Just as Glastonbury and Avebury and all of this area is. There's two centres. And here we have the Constantine Plantagenets, and you've got, well, remember the War of the Roses and all of that history, that's still all there. And next to here you see King Henry VIII destroyed the Abbey, and that's still standing. There's a lot to be learned about this city, folks, in the whole scheme of things. So that was very, very enlightening. Now, to the subject at hand. All the forms that we see, the seeds are planted in the heart of the sun, in the centre of the sun, and everything we see is emanating from there. The causal light from the centre of the sun. Eric Dollard, you can see his videos on YouTube. Eric Dollard explains, he studied the sun most of his life, and he explains out of the back of his car in Arizona in the desert in his interview how the sun is empty. It's cold. There's no fusion going on in the core of the sun. It's empty. Sunspots reveal that the sun is empty inside. There's only the outside skin. And arcing and fusion only occurs in the corona of the sun, in the outside of the sun, not in the core of the sun. There's no fusion. And it is a converter. He calls it a converter or a transformer. And it transforms, in the words of Eric Dollard, transforms primary force into secondary force. I would like to just change one of those words if I could, and I would say, in harmony with Walter Russell's beautiful teachings, if I could correct someone with the great knowledge, a physicist, and a great genius like Eric Dollard, which I'm not attempting to correct him, but it's obvious to me that what he's saying is the sun is a converter from prime, he says force, I would say power, that's just what I would say, into secondary force. Walter Russell would say there is only one force that God uses, i.e. God would be conscious, white, causal, undivided, still, all-knowing light, where omniscience, omnipresence, omnipotence and immortality exist. Where we exist, in the empyrean, our true nature. And so, yes, the sun is a converter. You see, he explains that you cannot see the sun in outer space. In free space, we cannot see the sun. So we need a body, a mass, like the Earth and the atmosphere, you see? And so then we can see the sun. So really he says there's no light and there's no travelling of light. And in stars he says the light that we see from stars could be just seconds old. Not necessarily millions. It could be seconds old. And remember, of course, we remember the words of, who was it that said, was it Nietzsche that said, as long as we continue to conceive of the stars outside of us,
we won't see the ones within, or understand.
We won't see the ones within. Yeah, words to those effect. It's Nietzsche, was it Nietzsche? I'm just getting confused here a little bit, but anyway. Because what is without is within. And they knew that. As above, so below. The law of correspondence. The Hermetic law. One of the 7 laws. What is in the macrocosm is in the microcosm, you see. And so that's what it does, it converts. And of course when the sun, because it's not visible in outer space, in free space, when it hits the Earth's atmosphere, this is when the transformation begins. It transforms here at this level, you see, into a third thing. And how you would explain this in theology is the Father, the Son, the Father, the causal light, the Son, which has now manifested dualistic light, positive and negative ions, or positive and negative, positively and negatively charged ions are coming from the Sun, so it's positive and negative, Okay, it's vibrating. It's vibratory light. Therefore, it's dualistic. It's secondary light. It's force. Walter Russell says there's only one force that God uses to create everything that is visible in the universe, and that is electricity. And God is magnetism. You see? So here you see the magnetism at the cause of the sun, where everything must return. Everything is born from here, according to Walter Russell. Everything must be returned through that portal, back to cause. And so this electric light is secondary force. And that force, when it hits here, this is the Holy Spirit stage. This is theology. The Father is the unnamed. The Son is the SUN/SON, because it's electric, L. And the Virgin shall give a child, and his name will be Emmanuel. And then this is the Holy Spirit. This is explained by many astrological, biblical astrologers. The Reverend Thomas Taylor in 1830 explained that this is the Holy Spirit. He was from Birmingham. And because we breathe in here, this is the womb, this is earth, this is mother, this is father, matter, material, M, L. So here you have, the positive forces of nature here expressed. Here you have negative. But this is our home, the womb, in which one day experience apotheosis as a grub becomes a butterfly, and this is called metamorphosis. We have apotheosis. Apo, from, theosis. The Italian genius Pier Luigi Igina, he said that in the centre of the sun is a heart that beats at the same rate as our heart. You can see him speaking about this on YouTube. Pier Luigi Igina. Igina is spelled I-G-H-I-N-A. And it's worth listening to him. He spent 10 years with Marconi. And then after that he studied the sun for 30 years. He has a seismic... he invented a machine which penetrates the crust of the earth, and it's like a valve, and it releases the gas from the crust of the earth, and hence he has prevented earthquakes. It's anti-seismic machine. You can see that on YouTube too. He modifies the weather. He does an experiment on YouTube, and he manifests the clouds. You can see it, and then the clouds go away. And this little old gentleman, Pier Luigi, died about 15 years ago. He explains that he studied the sun for 30 years, and he said that the sun emits what he calls positive atom. It's or is it negative? It's positive. Okay. When it hits the atmosphere, and he said the earth emanates a closing energy, negative, and the sun is emanating an expanding energy. And from the centre of the sun is a heart which is beating at the same rate of ours, which would be 72 beats a minute on average. And so we see we have the hollow sun. We have a sun which at its centre has a 0 point of magnetic light. It's its own central sun. Of course, all the mythologies talk about the sun behind the sun behind the sun. There's always a physical one that you see, a psychic one, and a spiritual. That's why Mithras is always seen as two, because they keep it simple. It's a spiritual and a physical sun. It's always known that the ancients didn't just worship an orb that they thought was inanimate. They worship light. God is light. The scriptures tell you, and so they looked at these beautiful orbs as secondary images, if you like, that represent the beautiful magnetic light, which is who we really are. And hence Jesus says, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father. Because the Father is in reference to still light. Because if you've seen vibrating light, well, you know that that's the thinking light, which comes from the knowing light, of course. And so let us proceed and see if we can follow the sun along the ecliptic. There's the ecliptic. This particular map shows the ecliptic starting over here, and they've put Aries in here. Can we get a better focus on that? I suppose we can. Right. So, and that's probably more natural than the maps that I use. I usually tend to get the ones that start from here, because in masonry and in theology and in astrology, everything starts from this side, although our Earth spins anti-clockwise, right? And not clockwise. So really, if it's spinning anti-clockwise, then everything should flow that way. So it should start from here. But what I'll do is, as I usually do in the presentations, just go over to the other one, because you see these are a couple of maps that are starting from here. You can see that the climb up to the Tropic of Cancer is always on this side. And there's a reason for that, which I won't go into today, because I want to just spend time on the sun and looking at the symbol of the wave, the cross, which is based on these cardinal points. You see? So if you bring that around to around here, you have a cross. You have the equinoctial cross, and you have the solstitial. And that's the key. The cross is the key. The secret of creation is the wave, and the wave is expressed by the cross. The most holy. Look, we're all carrying them. I've got a couple. I've got a Ecuadorian one, and I've got a Celtic cross. And you'll be carrying them in one form or another. Your body's one. We're always carrying the cross of the four elements, the four rivers of the Garden of Eden. Nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, and carbon. And carbon is the earth one, which corresponds, carbon's number is 666. We're all carbon crystals, Christs. All animated forms have carbon. And these are the four rivers. There's always four of everything, four underpinning everything. Theology, astrology, the lot of it, because it comes from this four. And how light acts. It has four polarities, says Walter Russell. But if we start here, we've got Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer. So this is the start of the year. This is the start of the day. You have the eastern point here. The sun always sets in Libra. There's the scales right at the middle. There's where Libra starts. 30 degrees along the ecliptic. Here is Scorpio, Sagittarius, and there we have Capricorn begins in the longest, shortest day of the year in winter. Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces the fish, and then the sun comes out of the waters. Pisces, and is born in fire. Aries the land. In every cycle, in every fractal, from cluster galaxies to subatomic. That's it. That's what light does. And the ancients knew this. And we are remembering this. I mean, this is not new science. This is old. This is so ancient. And astrology is too. It's perennial. It just is. It's the science of life, you see. And so based on this, we see that I'm going to have a problem here, aren't I? Well, I better get over here. Based on this, we have the cross. The oldest religion on earth is the worship of the sun on the cross. And this is how the cross is formed. You see the solstices and the equinoxes. And there's the symbol. And you'll see it, I mean, this is not... The great thinkers will tell you that this is caveman evolving along the Darwinian lines, and then all of a sudden waking up to art and stimulating his brain and then is becoming an artistic creature. This is a very rustic pagan. Pagan means country bumpkins, not refined, doesn't have to be. There's two styles. There's always the pagan rustic and there's always the cultured style of the esoteric. Exoteric, esoteric. This is very exoteric. And this is how, but it's also esoteric. But this is how, when we awaken to what already is, no caveman just said, oh yes, well the wave, I see, yes, I'm thinking now, must be expressed like that, or whatever. We remember this science. You can't invent it. There's nothing new under the sun. You see, so this would be explained by we remembering who we are. The astrologers say when we return to the science, the mother of all sciences, astrology, when we return to it, it is because we have awakened and remembered who we are, and we look to the stars and remember this is where we came from, you see. And because that's why humans can look up. Animals don't contemplate stars. Not even smart ones like, well, they may. We don't see them contemplating them. It appears that they don't. But we certainly do contemplate and wonder, it's got to be more, etc. So this is what we're doing. We are remembering this. And here are the most ancient of all glyphs which are revealing the wave. This is all based on the wave. Light, vibrating light, universal mind thinking. Every culture, that's the secret of creation, the wave. Here is a very elaborate, I think this one turns up in a bigger slide in this presentation, but this is in the temple in India to the sun, the 8-spoke wheel. This is a fine carved stone. This is like very hard stone carved in India, polished in the temple of the sun. There's about 24 of these wheels all around, or 12 of these wheels around the temple. The temple of Karnak in Egypt, Konark in India, and Karnak in France. Because it's all about Aries, the head, Karnak, the head. that particular name. There's many different styles of swastikas. Swaz means Shiva. This is the symbol of Shiva, the destroyer. Depending on which way his arms are pointed. But you have them all over the world. It's the wave. The secret of creation is in the wave. The ancients knew this, and they were leaving behind something that they knew would be misunderstood with the dropping of consciousness that we have experienced in the last Piscean age, the Iron Age. There have been inquisitions and people have killed other people because they don't have the same religion. Continents have been conquered in the name of Christ, in the name of Islam, African countries. Of course, this is not the true Islam or the true Christianity that is the science that always was. These are fascist corporate takeovers, Ponzi schemes called monotheism. Beware of the MONs, people. Beware of MONs. Monarchy, money, and then monopolies, and then monotheism. Theism, of course, they are theists, not deists. These guys invent, this comes from their subjective thinking, their theism and their monotheism. There's nothing to do with deism and God and this. Later the cross became more prevalent in some cultures, but the wheel is still evident. There it is. This is the cross that I have on my, someone gifted it to me from Ireland. There they are. It's always been there. The Egyptians knew of this, the Assyrians. Early Christian crosses. There's the Roman cross. It's all the wave. There's Jesus on the cross. Jesus comes from IES. Yes. Yes. The Son. Jesus. Positive. Affirmative. Jesus is the Son. He is always depicted as the Son. Churches are doing it without even knowing. When I was a Jehovah's Witness for 20 years, I pulled out a watchtower. I still keep that one. It's at home. You open up to the middle and it's the study article and it says, Jehovah God is mighty in power. And there's a sun right behind Jehovah. The sun. You don't think the governing body of Jehovah's Witness doesn't know that the true Christianity is just the science of light? No, they know. But they've got to keep it subtle, you see. These churches, their governing bodies, they know that Beth El is electricity. Beth is the home of the sun. Sun. These are all Christian churches, all of them. These people will kill you if you don't believe their corporate version. They'll kill you, they'll kill you, they'll kill you, they'll kill you. And guarantee you'll find some nasty members of the governing bodies of these churches, and their interest is not looking after you. They are wolves in sheep's coverings. And they do this to rub it in your face, you see. Just to say, we killed the pagans, in the witches, in the witch hunts, they're naughty and they don't believe in Jesus, so we killed a bunch. They're witches, but this is not witchcraft. See, what they've done, what I'm intending to do with this presentation is to put the sun into perspective and bring back some honour to the science of light, because these people have trashed it. This is McDonald's, Ampol, Shell, Starbucks. That's all this is. It's corporate crap. They're just offering services that we don't need. Interlopers, as if we can't be priests and kings ourselves, and we need these killers, because they do kill. Even though good people go to churches, yes. I've got relatives. My cousin Robert, he's still going around doing a regular pioneer. I did that for 4 years. Knock, knock. Oh, you've got to come to Jehovah if you want to be saved. And my cousin's there, he's just knocking. And he's got so many health problems, but he's out there witnessing 10 hours a day, trying to save people to one of these corporate fictions. But they're trashing the name of light. Oh yeah, sure, they'll have it in their symbols. And here, the Vatican, when I got to Rome and did 2 days of syncretism after 4 days of syncretism in Florence, I met my sovereign friends here, Matteo, Marco, about 20 of us. And we met here and I said, let's walk up to St. Peter's Square and I'll show you, we'll do a 10-minute astrotheology lesson. First of all, we see in front of St. Peter, on top of St. Peter's Square, you see 13 statues, and in the middle you see Jesus Christ, the shepherd, the good shepherd, with a cross. And you've got 6 over here and 6 over there. And that's the sun with the 12 signs of the zodiac. And then you see 12 pillars below. 12. There's always 12 or 13, 12 or 13. It's a theme. And then we're up here. This is a bit elevated here, so we could look down at the obelisk. And the obelisk is the sundial which makes these patterns, like the Union Jack, which, by the way, someone told me here, a couple of people have confirmed that the Union Jack comes from Somerton in Glastonbury, Somerset, which Somerton is at the tail of Leo, the lion of Judah, or the lion of the zodiac Leo. Somerton is Leo in Glastonbury zodiac. That's where summer happens. Leo the lion. So of course you know Somerton in Leo. But that's where the Union Jack comes from. From Somerton. I don't know, I might be wrong, but the person who said that is trustworthy and pretty reliable, but might want to just double check that. But if that's so, you can understand the Union Jack, as I've suggested, Jack is Jacob. Jacob is Bacchus. Bacchus is the sun. And the union of Jack is this equinoctial line. Because at March the 21st, this is where the sun rises in the east. That road there goes all the way up, and that's called La Via della Conciliazione, the reconciling. equinox, every year. That's what the year, when the Master 21st, Pope looks out and there's the obelisk in front of him and there's Master Easter, and he sees the sun rising right in the middle of the Via della Conciliazione, reconciling. Yeah, the equinox. So, and when you start from here, this is facing east. Master 21st, this is June the 21st, summer solstice. And the sun will cast a shadow onto here. This statue at the end of the colonnade, these beautiful big colonnades. And this statue on top of the colonnade gets a shadow. And at night, that one night every year, it casts a shadow over in this direction. That's the winter solstice of Cancer. Aries, Cancer, along the way. The secret of creation is in the way, and they're rubbing it in your face. Then after that, the sun falls down again to Libra. Libra judges the sun again, just as Aries does. Aries is krios, the judge, criticise, critique. Krios in the Greek system. Judging between middle, the Lamb of God, the judge, the scales of justice, Libra, balancing. September the 21st, equinox. Then it falls down to Capricorn, Tropic of Capricorn. And the same thing again, shadow, shadow. And here you've got crisscross. This is the ki, this is the ro in Greek. Kiro, Christo. Crystal, Christo. Krishna, Chronos. They all do it. That's the story of creation. That's the vibration. It's telling you about the vibration in a bigger scale, in a bigger fractal, so we can go, of course it's got to be a fractal of the wave. And so, oh look, there's a lot more there I can talk about, but we need to press on. I can see I'm running out of time. How much time we got? Please? 45 more minutes. Oh, I thought I'd been speaking longer. Lovely. So you see, here you'll see the 12 petals of the sun, always facing east. These two pillars are the pillars of Boaz and Jachin. King Solomon's temple was built like that. Solomon is the sun, Amun is the sun, Om is the sun. So that's the temple of the sun, the temple of Solomon. It's all the sun. There's more sun. This is an obelisk. This is a sundial. What else could it be? There's the 8 spoke, the 8 petals because of the 8 spoke wheel. The cardinal cross and the fixed cross. But this is a monument to the sun. Well, if the sun, there's the year. Year comes from yes, comes from year. Of course the year is run by the sun, so it's yes, the sun. And the day is deis, God. So of course the day is in reference to God, and the year is in reference to God, the God of light. And there it is, in monuments, beautiful masonry that men spend years to design and place in their right place and to get energy from, sometimes negatively, sometimes positively. But these are transformers of energy, of magnetic energy. And the sun and magnetism, it's always magnetism and electricity. Basilica San Maria degli Angeli, dei Martiri, Rome. There's the 24 hours along the Ecliptic and the zodiac signs. There they are, around 12 or 8. Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. There it is, the sun. All of that is all about the sun, all of it. Even when you see the Masonic black and white, that's because you have black light at night, white light in the evening. Positive and negative, everywhere you go. It's a dance of duality. There we have 16 petals. That's the throat chakra. 12 petals is the heart chakra. Of course the heart chakra, Leo, ruled by the sun, is going to have 12 apostles, 12 posts. Or disciples, take your pick. The posts, that's what they were known. In astrology they're called posts. There's 12. There is 24, the 24 elders around the throne of God. But it's always the Son. And of course, these are the degrees. These will be either degrees or deacons, or there'll be 360 of these. You can go around and count them. It'll always be a number that is a harmonic of the ecliptic, something to do with the ecliptic. Always. It'll be 72, 108, 2160. It'll be 153, 144,000, 12, 40, 7. All numbers to do with lives. It's not like, we're going to start monotheism. 12. Judges, there's 12 pillars. Yeah, let's do everything in 12. Yeah, for no other reason than we love 12. The Bible's full of 12. What for? And they don't get it, and they go to church. Oh, Jesus walked along the ecliptic of Galilee, the circuit of Galilee with his, 12 disciples. And they go there and they have bus tours. And this is when Jesus did this and Jesus. This does not exclude a historical Jesus, by the way. Because there were many. It doesn't exclude that some people want to have a role model. There may have been and there will have been Christs and Buddhas and Jesuses. In fact, that's what the Egyptian system churned out, Jesuses. So did the Therapeutae and Essene temples in the deserts of the Gnostics of Judah. That's why Titus had to destroy the temple there, because they were churning out Jesuses. Yeah, because when you do your 33 levels of ordeals in Masonry, the last level is crucifixion. Physical, real. It's an ordeal that must be passed in those systems. Because they were selecting the best of the best, the most noble of aristocratic hearts on this planet to lead the way. And so they had to go through 33 ordeals. And the last ordeal, after you bring your cross in Masonry up to the... And then you're crucified and you survive this, of course you survive it, you get a new name, and that name is ultimately Jesus. It's always Jesus. In syncretism it has always been, because Jesus is you, Jesus, the hero that is always coming on the ecliptic. Bootes. There's Bootes with his side in Virgo. The hero. Hercules. You, the Yule log. The Yule is the wheel. So it's always you is coming, because it's the Yule. And Jesus is on the wheel. He's Orion. He's Ophiuchus. He's Cephas. Take your pick. There's only, in the end, it's ultimately it's you and I. So here you see, this is all, there'll be 360 of these, or there'll be 153, or there'll be... everywhere we went in Ecuador, we counted 12, 24, 4, the same numbers turn up. There it is. Cathedrals. Always two pillars. The pillars, this is Pisces, this is the feet of Pisces. To the back is the Holy of Holies, the head. Let's do that, shall we? Because I explained this to Maria, and when we went to Salisbury, and I pointed out that all cathedrals are in this shape. See? Next year when we make more money, we're going to get better blackboards. Promise. Whiteboards. Like this, you see, and of course the Holy of Holies is here, that's Aries, and you see Boaz and Jackie is here, and you enter here, and these are the pews for all the people in the outer courtyard. And then you've got the ones that pay more, because they're next to the altar, which is, in Arabic, Taurus, altar is the altar where you alter your consciousness. That's why you have to get there to have your... That's what Maria was saying yesterday. When I said, I've been explaining that in the Temple of Solomon, you get to the cerebellum, Taurus, altar, and the altar. And you see, remember, the high priest Aaron, he officiated with 7 candles at the altar of God. Well, that's the Pleiades in Taurus. The Pleiades, the 7 candles, are in Taurus. Aaron is associated with the bull. He made the golden calf in Taurus. He's the high priest in Taurus, altar, the altar. where we must ascend, you see. The ones that get closer to there, that's why these guys pay a lot more, right? You've seen that? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so it's all in syncretism. It's all on the ecliptic. And these are monuments, endless, even modern ones. They show the sun with its wings, just like Quetzalcoatl. This is Quetzalcoatl worship. They don't know it. Oh, Jesus is coming to save us. You know? And it's Quetzalcoatl. It's Viracocha. It's Krishna. And yet they'll kill you for saying, oh, Krishna's the devil. There's the spire, the phallic of the sun domes is the sun. It's all the sun. The cross, the cup, the Holy Grail, the deacon of Leo, the Christ, Regulus, the lion, the cup, the sceptre shall not depart from the light. Of course, because the deacon of Leo is the Holy Grail, the cup, which we get intoxicated, according to Macrobius, when we come from the Tropic of Cancer and we go down through Leo and drink too much of that cup, and then we go down to Capricorn. That's the Holy Grail. It's right here in Leo, the cup. Crater. Yes, I-E-S in Greek. Yes, Jesus, the sun. Fire, or the sun, S-U-N. 24 hours. These are monuments. Salisbury, anyone you go to see, it's a monument to the sun, to light. God is light. This is true God worship. Not what these ones down here say. Not what the dude with the funny garb. He's got no idea what God is. No idea. He's a left-brained. We noticed, we did a tour, we went through Worcester Cathedral. Worcester Cathedral is beautiful. And I noticed the priests walking around and the ladies there in the church, very ecclesiastical, and they're very intellectual. Jesus Christ is... and they're so intellectual. What's that got to do with anything about Christianity? Christianity is just love. The science of love. Intellectual, it's messy. You know, it's thinking. Oh, when I think of Jesus, the countless arguments that Jehovah's Witnesses have amongst them. This is why you get factions. How many Baptists are there? There's the Northern Baptist 1983 Council of Ecumenical blah 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 Corporation. There's the Southern Baptist of blah blah. There's probably about 40,000 of them Baptists. And it's a joke. It's just noisy. Oh, here's James Swagger giving me a call. Yeah. We're supposed to have a radio interview. So I'm going to Ireland to catch up with him. But there you go. Look, 4 pillars. This is the 4 cardinal points. The 4 directions. This is light. This is the monument to light. The sun, Christ Jesus, going around the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. The unveiling. The apocalypse is the unveiling. It's all based on the oracles of the Sibylline Roman oracles anyway. Tony Bushby has exposed that. Revelation, the book of Revelation, comes from the Sibyllines. Straight out, ripped straight out of it, because it's gospel writing. Of course, there's thousands of gospels, goat songs that are good yet. There's songs, you know, they're literary works. For all those people who go looking for a literal Jesus, you know, and yes, we've got to kill people for that Jesus. And he didn't even say to kill people, he said, go and bless people, love your enemies. God damn, you love them, give them your land, don't go and steal it off them. You see, they're so confused, this lot. And they're just a bunch of, because the people who, the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers who fund them, and the Vatican that fund the Jehovah's Witnesses, and everybody else, they're just a coven of witches of the dark side. And they're controlled by the dark satellite, which is the animalistic orb chakra of the earth. But that's been rectified, and I've dealt with that in many other presentations, so I won't go into it. They are being controlled by some evil celestial forces, and that's just animal forces, undeveloped good. That's all it is. San Miniato, we were going to go. I did 4 days of syncretism in Florence, and we were going to go and see this, but we didn't get time because we were too comfortable and lazy at the villa. We had a beautiful villa, at Francesca's house there in Tuscany, and from my third-story villa room, oh man, I dreamt of these things all my life, and it came true. I could see the dome, so I'm just looking out my bedroom, and there's the dome. Anyway, Francesca actually recounted to me how much trouble she has had from the Freemasonic fraternities in Florence. Apparently they're the most powerful in all of the world. Banking started there. And in the hills of Florence, oh boy, there's some nasty types. And they have a lot of say in controlling this country too. Through the corporations. Their corporations, the Windsor and the Rothschild corporations. Rest assured, it all goes back to those families in Rome, Pisa, Florence and Venice, of the black nobility. And Francesca was going to take me here. She recounted to me how much trouble they've given her, and death threats, and what she's had to do to be one of the most forefront people in the sovereignty movement in Italy. And she has suffered for at least 12 years now. Her mother and father were very, very, very important people in Rome. Her mother was a midwife to all of the bloodlines, children. She was the head of the most powerful hospital in Rome. And the father was a great, great doctor. So she comes from this great Roman, and they moved to Florence about 50 years ago, a long time ago. And so they keep track of her, because they don't want this beautiful science and people teaching it, and sovereignty. Here we have Jesus Christ in the heavens. Of course he's in the heavens. It's the Son. I am the light of the world, the risen Saviour. It rises every day. There's the 4 points, the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac, the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. There's the 12 signs in San Miniato of the zodiac. There's Scorpio in plain sight, Virgo. There's the 4 again, the lion, the man, the eagle, and the bull will be there somewhere. There's the Son, Christ Jesus, the 4 crosses, the cardinal cross. He's always pointing to the heart, because Leo is Regulus, is the Messiah, is the Christ, is the doorway, the heart. Plus it's telling you that the Sun, S-U-N, rules from this point. This is the soul, Sol Invictus, S-O-L, soul for the Sun is Sol, S-O-U-L, same thing. It does actually represent the soul in man, Solamun. There they are, the zodiacs in temples all around the world. The Ecliptic is so much adored. This science was known. It's the blueprint of how the universe thinks, how it gets things done. Everywhere is the zodiac. There's a 24-hour one, divided into 2 weeks. This is what the Chinese do. They have 2-week moons. There's the yin and yang, 36 deacons of the Japanese, the Chinese. There is the light of the tree of life within the body. The beast in Revelation with 7 heads and 10 horns. There's 7 levels here of the Kabbalistic tree that correspond with the chakras. Down the bottom, Malkuth, which is the same as Kether. Kether is ether. Here is the Christ in the heart, Tiferet. Here you have feminine wisdom, understanding, and masculine wisdom. Here you have the 11th Sephiroth, which is Da'at. Da'at is Gnosis, knowledge. It's the secret door to get to understanding, to wisdom, to knowledge, or rather to the ether, put it that way, and just causal, unconditioned consciousness. But that's the doorway. It's implied. It's the 11th. It's called pseudo-Sephiroth because it's implied. But one needs to find that door. That's the door where Jesus said, "Woe to you who have thrown away the keys of knowledge, and you have stumbled the little ones." There is the Son being adored. always candles, light, or the cross and the sun. There is the sun walking on water. There is the cross. It's light. Light crosses because it's waves. It has to cross. The waves have to cross each other to interfere with other waves. And the wave also interferes on itself. It collapses itself, and so it's all a vibration, a positive and a negative, and a 0 point in the middle. This is what the pyramid is all about, the chief cornerstone. Blessed are your eyes, for they see. For verily I say unto you that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which you see, and have not seen it. That's what you're seeing with this eye. It's not what you see with the physical eyes. Allegory of the sun. So the allegory of the sun is that the sun goes along the ecliptic, and one is recounting the story of the sun. You see, for the farmer, when the sun is in Aries, it's the springtime, the blossom of the land. Then when Taurus comes, the bull reminds him to take out his bull and plough and sow. And then Gemini shows the farmer that things are doubling, reproducing, twin kids, twin lands everywhere in the springtime. Cancer is the summer backward moving, sideways walking animal, that when the sun reaches the top on the 26th of June, it must walk sideways. Then Leo is the roaring ruler of the jungle, summer, the roar of the lion, the roaring dog days of July, because the sun is conjunct Sirius, the dog. So you don't have dog days. Then Virgo comes, and she's the one, the handmaiden of the Lord, who holds out the sheaf of grain, because when the sun passes through her sign, she gives grain and harvest. It's all along the ecliptic. There is the Saviour. Life depends from the energy of the sun. It's the Saviour. The sun dies every evening through the doorway of Delilah, Virgo, into the scales of Libra to be judged. That's Judgment Day there. It's born again every morning as it comes out from the other side. Horus rising, sun setting, being swallowed up by Set. There's the three stages of the sun. Sun, newborn sun, sun most high, and the dying setting sun. Sun walks on water. Of course it does. Fire in the sky, water down below. It's always been that way. The sun dies on the cross and is dead for 3 days before he's born again. At the winter solstice, the 21st, it doesn't move for 3 days. It dies. And then on the 25th of December, begins its climb. It's reborn. Dies Invictus Solis Natis was the original name of Christmas, the day of the invincible sun. Because even though it dies on the 21st, it sure does win again and conquer in the Lamb of God when he exalts or gets resurrected at Easter. There's the Lamb of God. The new birth, the new life, every year it starts again. Cyclical. Walter Russell said if we can only think of everything cyclically, we will understand unity consciousness. Unity consciousness. If we understand these cycles, nature is cyclical. If we can think cyclically, we can unite our thinking. There's Leo. Regulus is on the ecliptic. This is the strongest month of the year, the strongest animal on the roar of the lion, the power. The sun then passes through Virgo and gives her bread. Bethlehem is Virgo, the house of bread. So you get wine and grain. And what do you get? Bread and wine. Jesus gives us the bread and wine. And the oil. Oil is Christos. So everywhere you go, for instance, in Italy, everywhere I went, there was vineyards, olives, and wheat. So it's the land of Christ. Because Bacchus, the god of wine, Jesus, the God of bread, I am the bread of life. He who eats me shall not ever go hungry. He who drinks my blood. See, this was known in Egypt as the blood of the gods. What a beautiful thing that you can watch the grapes grow, then you just cultivate them. You put them in the vat, you squeeze them, you look after them, you put them in the cool, you wait till they mature, then you take out your bottle of wine in winter, and you're drinking the blood of Christ. So you shall not die. And these are the most perfect symbols of the yearly trajectory of the sun through the ecliptic. Because bread also is cultivated. You don't just, scoop some grain and then just turn it into bread, right? There's a lot of stuff to do in between until you can take that fresh bread out of the oven, and then you can celebrate the whole year of toil. You have fresh bread. And grace to who? Jesus. Jesus, the Son. Because if he didn't turn up every day, he wouldn't be eating bread. So you must eat my body and drink my wine, my blood. Here is where Libra will always be. Libra will always be here. This will be Capricorn, this will be Cancer, the other side will always be Aries. The judges are here. This is the spiritual axis, and this is the physical. The priest and the king that we are. The cross that we are on is priestly and kingly. And this is why the controllers have taken that away from us. Taken our kingship. We're not sovereign anymore. We've got rights, privileges and services, no rights. Benefits when we register and subscribe. Therefore, they've taken our good work from us and given us jobs instead. But the good work is to do this work. to do the work of the king and the priest. Scorpio, when the sun passes through Scorpio, it gets bitten, like Judas Iscariot, by the backbiter. Because that's Scorpio, the scorpion bites from the back. That's why Judas Iscariot and the constellation of Scorpio looks like a J. It's a J. You look at it, it's the second brightest constellation in the sky. It sticks out. Scorpio is just magnificent. It's a J. It's the Yod of Yod He Vah, Jehovah. All the fixed signs of the zodiac on the ecliptic spell out the name of Jehovah. Scorpio, Aquarius, Taurus and Leo. Jehovah, Yod He Vah. The 10th card of the Rider-Waite tarot card, the Wheel of Fortune, will reveal that to you. Just have a look at it and meditate on that one for 5 minutes and you'll see it. And so this is Isis. The glyph for Scorpio is an M, Mary, Isis. There's Sagittarius, and it pierces the sun as it comes to die on the 21st of December on the ecliptic. The sun's rays appearing as a crown of thorns. That's the corona of the sun doing that. Of course it is the corona of Jesus, the crown of thorns. As depicted in all the artwork. There's only one topic. Any gospel you write, any song, it'll be one topic. It'll be light. It's all about light. And the sun is the chief light equals God. Logi equals word, the word of God. Psalms 19:4-6. Their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun. That would be the ecliptic, the belt of Aphrodite, the blazing path which is 17 degrees wide of the zodiac. Which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber and rejoicing. See, it's Prince Charming and Cinderella. It's Perseus, it's Prometheus. In the morning he comes and all the stars just disappear. He's the only light. He's not going to share his glory with no stars. Venus, doesn't matter if it's Jupiter, you don't care. When he comes up, all the constellations flee. That's Perseus in Aries slaying Medusa, the starlit night. And here it's described as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race. He is going forth from one end of the heaven, when he rises, to the other end of the heaven. and his circuit unto the ends of it, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. They're describing God here, the sun on the ecliptic. And this is what they read in church down at the cathedral every Sunday. And they're waiting for vicarious salvation, chief Ponzi scheme of all time, Jesus Christ, to come and save them. Oh, he's coming. In the meantime, there's Satan, isn't there? And his demons. And we've got to fight against them. But Jesus is coming to save us. 1 Corinthians 15:41. There is one glory of the sun, and another glory of the moon, and another glory of the stars. For one star differeth from another star in glory. Oh boy, they're going to eat those words, the churchgoers, when they read that on Sunday. When they realise that it's all astrotheology, astrology, which is from the devil, and alchemy, and all of those good things which they have been denying. It's the Antichrist. Churchianity is the Antichrist. They are against this consciousness. They have wars on terrorism, crusades. I've shown that you go to court and you get represented by a bar member, you are actually playing with the devil. They are foreign agents. They've got unclean hands. They are using your name without any authority in court. Neither have you got any authority to use your name. That is registered with the Crown, and they are the only owners of that name. So both parties are committing fraud in those courtrooms. These are men of darkness, and this is, they're going to eat their words one day, because here they are condemning astrology and natural law, and here is the Bible talking astrology right there. That's pure astrology, undeniable. His power is from the rising of the sun until the going down thereof. God's power is only good during the day, is what this is saying. God's power ends at sundown, according to this scripture. Job 38:32. Canst thou bringeth forth Mazzaroth in his season? Mazzaroth, would that mean zodiac? I wonder why they didn't translate that word, and they translated all the others from Hebrew into English. Probably be handy for them not to put the true word translated, which can only be zodiac, in there. But every Christian Bible has got Mazzaroth in there. Nice when they revert to words that will hide and blur out the true meanings of things, you see. But the Jehovah's Witnesses have it in Job 38:32. I remember a Christian typing, hallelujah, Jesus is going to save me. I was street performing in the Burke Street Mall where I always perform, and this happy type bought a CD off me, and then he started talking about the Bible, and I said, yeah, well, it's interesting how it's all based on the zodiac and Mazzaroth. He goes, oh, no, I don't do any of that. That's from the devil. I'm a Christian. I don't get into that stuff. I said, oh, yeah, okay. Well, it's funny how Job 38:32 says that God is challenging mankind, saying, can you tell the Mazzaroth, you idiot? Because if you don't, you're just an idiot. How dare you not know the stars and the times and seasons? How dare you, deny this science? Can you know the Mazzaroth and its season and its coming? Do you know when Scorpio is around the corner? Do you know when one of the saviours that I've put on the Ecliptic is coming to save you? So God is challenging them. And I said that to him. I said, just check it out. And he goes, all right, I'll look at my concordance, pull out his phone. I said, look at Mazzaroth, the zodiac. Yeah, you're right, Santos. All right, see ya. And off they go. Who knows? Or maybe I planted a seed. Maybe he'll get scared of that word Mazzaroth and probably tear that page out of his Bible or something. They're that crazy, they kill you if you don't believe what they believe. Malachi 4:2. The Son of Righteousness is coming with healing in its wings. It doesn't say S-O-N either, because the Christians will tell you, oh, that's Jesus, he heals you. Yeah, because healing comes from Helios, which is the name of the sun. Of course, Helios is going to have healing in his wings. Quetzalcoatl. The Egyptians always displayed the sun disk with wings. The Son of Righteousness, with healing in his wings. Revelation 22:16. I am the root and the offspring of David, the bright morning star. It's the sun. This then, 1 John 1:5. This then is the message which we have 5 minutes, I thought so. Saw you there. Dang. Okay. I'll finish off with this then. John 4:8. 1 John 1:5. This then is the message which we have heard of him and declare unto you, that God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all. John 4:8. It's all talking about light and sun. It's not talking about no Jesus in history. That's what I say to people. Look, if you want the historical Jesus, that's good. The Gospels, they are songs. They tell you that. It doesn't say this is the history of exactly what Jesus did, a historical person. It says clearly that there's a Christian Greek Gospels, Dragoudis, and there's many more thousands of these Gospels. There's thousands of them. This is a beauty. Psalms 48:11. For the Lord God is a sun. And then it continues and says, and a shield. And that shield is the negative. That's twice now.
Resurrected.
Yeah.
Sun worship.
Gets there, don't it? Alright, 3 more scriptures. Hebrews 12:29. For our God is a consuming fire. Judges 5:31. So may all your enemies perish, Lord, but may all who love you be like the sun when it rises in its strength. Luke 12:49. I have come to bring fire on the earth. Ephesians 5:14. Wake up, sleeper, arise from the dead, and Christ will shine on you. We're going to close off here, but I'm halfway through this presentation, folks, and I'm going to continue. This is what I've got, or whatever anyone ever said about the sun in history, and you really don't want to miss it tomorrow. This is just to give you an idea. Jesus was Caesar by Francesco Carlotta. Okay, we're going to look at there's many proofs that JC was JC. Oops. Was that the guy who died on the Ides of March? Nicene 14, same day. Julius Caesar and Jesus Christ. The calendar which began when those two dudes walked the earth. The Julio-Gregorian calendar. We're going to bust a biggie tomorrow. Okay, this is the sun. Okay, the presentation of the sun, part 2 tomorrow.
Apologies for chopping in important, but now I had to tell the cook-off she wanted to whisk something. It sounded like a murder. I have to say my gratitude to Santos, as I said, he's touring for like 5 hours tomorrow as well, so, and he could do double, so